Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Jim Hodge, and I'm here with Gary Goff, and with Wes Cloud, and we're here at Fourth Aviation, home to the most touchable warbirds in Texas. And we're here today to talk about the TF-102 and a refurbishing project that just took place. Wes was with a young lady named Emory Kirchem and the American Heritage Girls, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what they did to the airplane here.
Okay, well, it would be nice if we could ensure what this looked like before they started. It was so dirty you couldn't read anything. And the lady here, she wants to be a pilot and she'd like to be an Air Force pilot. Picked this airplane.
Yep.
And they have quite a comprehensive. They have to go through all that. This is 57 pages of preparation, and she out and we spent hours about what we would. I said, we'd like to get the fuselage. We'd like the lettering. It looks a little better. And I said, and she says, $1,900. And her mother was kind of like, but I said, and she said,
because you're going to be doing some pointing at things.
And the other things was the one had a little history about it, so we have the sign here. This is the new museum. Now this is the new sign the had with. And back is a history of the airplane, and it's pretty expensive. But anyway, so finally they got all the material together. She has every part in piece and how much it cost. She had all the time over it, and at the end, it worked out just right.
Some people will recognize an Eagle Scout project. This is called their.
Is what they call it.
And from what we from the project layout and what we did, this is more comprehensive than what an Eagle Scout project is. And Wes is all about because he's our Scout coordinator out here. To inspect the project.
They did. They had somebody from a representative from the national office to make sure it was going okay. They came in on Sunday. So Saturday morning we had it set up, and Rich Garrett and Mike Amtower and Wittenberg, we got the equipment to make sure it was all running and put out a wash cart, wash cart that sits over here. You may be a story on it once.
That one yet?
Not yet. And we brought a big lift ladder out here, hydraulic ladder, and we brought a lot of other ladders, and they made sure everything was safe. Anybody on a ladder, somebody was holding. They had probably 45 people out in different waves. She had it scheduled out, come in the morning and come in the afternoon, and then the next day different groups, so on and so forth.
It was pretty impressive. Wes was giving us details as to what was going on. And one of the reasons they picked this plane is because it is a presidential airplane. George Bush flew this airplane 2 times down at Ellington Field. It was in the Texas Guard. This was a transition airplane to the F-102. So this one is a presidential airplane, and President Bush flew this one. So when we originally got this airplane, it was down in South Texas. I don't even remember where. It was somewhere near McAllen, I think it was. And we brought the airplane up here because the museum that had been in had folded. So this airplane has really not been touched or cleaned in all of those years. So it's been easily 10, 12 years, maybe even longer. And so what they've done to the airplane, those of us who have walked out here have been used to the airplane are just going, this is amazing. It looks beautiful. So Wes, maybe you're going to we can just walk around and point out some things.
Well, what they
be in front of you, Wes, so that we can hear the microphone.
Okay. Over here, you'll see what's called stars and bars. That took 3 days. What they did was they cleaned everything up, and then they abraded it with like this green pad, like you clean pots and pans with, and so then they just taped off the old stuff, and they went around it with tape, okay, and they taped everything. And so the first day they painted the blue. Then the next day they come in and we have this tape that's sensitive to new paint.
Right.
And taped off and painted it white. And they did it all. All the kids did it all. And then yesterday? Was yesterday?
Yeah, yesterday was.
They did the red and they did the exhaust cover in the back, black, and they put USAF up on top of the wing. But this is all done by hand with tape. They taped out the old stuff, they cleaned it off, and I find that basically they took an 8, they made these letters from an 8 except for maybe the E's and I, but everything is pretty much an 8 that's made into a number or a letter. Now we had an adult, 2 adults actually. I showed him one time how to do it up on the lift. That's the only time I had to get up on anything.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And he took it over. Another guy came in to do fender work in an auto shop. Says, oh yeah, I can do this. So they finished it off. And then at the end, 6 of the men that were here, the dad, pushed that cart back over on the ramp out of the way by hand. And but as you go around this thing, you'll notice just they got underneath of it and rubbed by hand underneath.
Yeah, I could see it's clean. I know you mentioned that once they washed it off, dirt just came pouring off of it.
Yeah, just unbelievable dirt. And
obviously it's shown us that it needs to be painted.
oh, it needs to be painted.
But a refurb of what they've done here is just marvelous. And the airplane looks better than it's looked in years.
Right. And we noticed today we're open for spring break, and we're seeing people coming all the way to this end of the display area just to look at this airplane, and people would not even bother to come up here before.
Yeah.
So it's really been good.
The airplane had a couple of others parked in front of it, and so that was kind of blocking off it. Well, we're not going to do that anymore because it looks too good.
And so anyway, they did both sides, and they had 2 crews working, and then the young lady, she made sure everything was working right.
Okay.
She'd go from place to place and make sure it was all working right.
So her job was actually to be a manager of this project.
She was. Now she would show them sometimes, says, okay, do it like this.
Okay.
And so they added the U.S. Air Force on top of the because they said, well, we're here, we'll do that. I said,
Get
okay.
that, Gary? I'm going to try.
Okay. And they put 2 coats of paint on all of it, except the nose. The nose has 6 coats of paint. So if we come around over here, you can see, get a broad shot of it.
I can
The
see
paint. They had working on this side and people working, and it was just. And when we first started doing the washing, it was raining off and on, so we got out some tablecloths from the barn, and people 10 minutes sometimes, but it didn't.
Well, I'm going to throw history on the airplane for you can see the earlier video, the one that several months ago. The forward section, the forward fuselage section of these airplanes were built here in Fort Worth in the 50s, and then they were sent out to San Diego to be able to put it together with the rest of the airplane. These airplanes were used obviously as a transition for the F-102 Delta Dagger. They were also used as a hustler here in Fort Worth. And then one of the other things that a lot of people don't know about. Let me see if we got the rack over here to show them. We got racks under both of these wings, and that's an important point here because this airplane during Vietnam, the Air Force intended to use this airplane as their fastback airplane, and the reason they did that was 2 pilots, or a pilot and a navigator, however they were going to do it. Plus the fact that with these racks, they could put 2.7-inch rockets on this airplane, which has become known over the years as the rocket that's used to mark targets by the U.S. military. So this airplane had the capability airplane, partly because of speed, partly because of other issues. And the Air Force instead went to the 100, or the model of the F-100. So we've had it here. It was brought from a museum down south. We had to do transport it up here. Had to take off wingtips and then.
This is the 102 that was parked in El Paso.
This was not El Paso. This time at Lackland Air Force Base. It was the gate guard at Lackland.
Oh, Lackland, okay.
After it was at Lackland, then it went down to the museum down in the valley. This was not the El Paso airplane. There are a few of these that have been around. I think there's another one up in Indiana.
In Grissom Air Force Base.
One of the important takeaways from this is that we've got volunteers like Wes who works tirelessly with the Boy Scouts even when he's not here. But he has become the Eagle Scout coordinator here at the museum. Now he's working with the American Heritage Girls. Any other youth group that would like to come out, Wes works with them to do projects that we need here that either sometimes are beyond our scope or it's a project of such level that it would be for us to complete. Like the picnic table here. We had a Boy Scout troop come in and their Eagle Scout project was to refurbish the picnic.
They took them all apart, replaced all the bad parts, and then put them back together.
Them down, took the corrosion off of them, repainted them.
Yeah. So.
How many girls were here on the project?
About 45.
45. Did they all do it in one day?
No, they took 3 days. Did most of it the first day. Matter of fact, they were concerned they weren't going to get enough time. So the next day we added a few things, but then there were some adults too. It was probably about adults off and on.
It was a big size group, large group.
But they rotated them through. And it was different troops would come in and help each other.
It was, okay.
Yeah, wasn't just one troop. It was several troops.
What usually happens in an Eagle Scout project.
Not usually.
Okay.
Right.
So, but Emory, the leader, the young lady who was leading the project, she was here for all of the evolution of the project.
Yeah, she was here for every second, and she goes to high school up here in Haslett. And she is learning aviation up there.
Okay. And if you have to look at the banner picture on the event on Facebook, you'll see this airplane obviously, and if you take a close look, Emory is on the top of the wing towards the back of the airplane. So, kind of...
She was feeling pretty good about herself.
Oh, she must have. I mean, this is a great project. It's a great accomplishment for her, and it's a really good accomplishment for us. And with these projects, and Wes showed you a little bit of this one, and we've seen the Eagle Scout projects are the same way. They are designed so that the individual who's doing the project could literally take this document and give it to someone who's unfamiliar with the project, and they could walk away and the project could be completed.
Absolutely.
That's how detailed these are.
That one especially.
Yeah, it's listed materials, it's workflow, it's pictures of before and after, what they're supposed to do.
Has all the costs?
Yeah, all the costs, who's responsible for what. They are really, it's really a terrific management exercise for these young people. So anything else you'd like to talk about our TF-102 before we go on a day here?
Well, we have generated some interest even from them. They might want to help us with windows.
Yeah, you might
need a little help. Yeah.
You might notice now, this airplane, notice that part of the canopy is painted over and part of the canopy has been shattered. It came to us that way. We have the interior or the cockpit is, I don't want to say it's complete, but there's enough material in there that you can get an idea of what's inside, but obviously it's as it is right now. That's one of the things we'd like to do is clean up the cockpit, get the canopies replaced. We think we've got flat glass, so if we can't find actual canopies, we can do plexiglass. But there's still a number of things we'd like to do with this. We said it's a presidential airplane, and we want to give it the respect that it's due.
Anybody out there watching, let us know if you're interested.
Yep. On a different note, what are those little pieces of metal around the canopy for?
Is that vortex generators?
Vortex generators.
Yeah, that's kind of unusual to have them on the canopy on an airplane. You'll find them very on wings, and you don't find them here. If you look at the wings, you will find strakes or fences, and they're there to control airflow across the airplane. You find lots of them on commercial airliners to keep the airflow the direction you want it. In this particular case, it's because of a thing called mock buffet. As this airplane started to get faster and faster, and it never was a really fast airplane, but as it got faster and faster, there was buffet that would occur in the cockpit and on the canopy. So the vortex generators were put on the airplane to smooth out the airflow over the canopy to reduce that buffet.
And Rico, I think I pronounced that right, asked, was this airplane armed?
We talked about that a little bit. This was a point interceptor, or the 102s were point interceptors. So they rarely had any kind of guns or cannons on them, but they had missiles. There's missile bays on this airplane, and we haven't been able to get those to open yet. But there was bays that would open up to be able to fire air-to-air missiles, and as we mentioned under the wings, it had the capability of carrying air-to-ground weaponry as well.
Any more questions out there? And I'm waiting to see. I don't think there's any more questions, Jim.
Okay. Well, again, we said this is the Convair TF-102, built in 1980, the Delta Dart, and there's 63 built. I thought it was 69, but this says 63, so this must be correct. We don't
well, if you look at the serial number, it starts with 0.
Yeah,
it starts with 0.
And 0 tells me that it was probably built in 1960 originally.
Yeah, that's what I think. It says 1980, but
that's the Air Force way.
It was probably 1960. So again, we appreciate you joining us here today. We're open for spring break today until 4 o'clock this afternoon. We'll be back on our regular schedule of just Saturdays, beginning Saturday from 9 until 2. So we hope you have an opportunity to come out and visit with us. If not today, then come on out Saturday here at the Fort Worth Aviation Museum, home to the most touchable warbirds in Texas. I'd like to thank Wes for being here with us and helping out with our youth coordination. And of course, our ever-present cameraman Gary Goff. So have a good week, folks, and we'll see you on Saturday.